Welcome, everyone. My name is Jeannie Duffy, and I'm the Executive Director of Serve Wisconsin. On behalf of myself and the Serve Wisconsin team, I would like to welcome everyone to this year's opening ceremony. Serve Wisconsin is the State Commission for National and Community Service. We promote service, provide training, and allocate funding to programs that enrich the lives and communities throughout Wisconsin through service and volunteerism. We primarily achieve our mission through our work with AmeriCorps programs and AmeriCorps members throughout the state of Wisconsin. Opening ceremony always brings back great memories of my years of service. As I was doing the math yesterday, I realized my first year of service was 32 years ago, and most of you were not even born. Thoughts like that make me realize I am an old person. And as an old person, I feel free to give advice. Many of you are a month into your service, and the honeymoon period might be waning. It might be getting hard. You might be thinking you made a mistake with your decision, but I'm here to tell you it was not a mistake. It might not be easy, your year of service, but it is not a mistake. My year of service was the foundation of my adult life. The friends and career I made during my years of service are invaluable. I cannot imagine what I would be doing if I had not completed my first year of service. I believe in 32 years, you too will be echoing the same sentiments. And I did not even serve during an international pandemic. I served in the good times of the late 80s. I want to express my gratitude for all of you who have stepped up to serve in these uncertain times. Your willingness to serve when perhaps it was not clear whether you would be serving virtually or in person, and that still might be changing daily or even weekly, is a testament to your inner goodness, your flexibility, and your ingenuity to get things done, all traits of successful AmeriCorps members. Our keynote speaker today is Dr. Liston. She is the founder of Ubuntu Research and Evaluation. Thanks to Google, I learned Ubuntu is an ancient African word meaning humanity to others. According to the internet, Ubuntu is more than a word. It is a philosophy reminding us that I am what I am because of who we all are. And it carries a fairly broad English definition of a quality that includes the essential human virtues of compassion and humanity. In modern South Africa, it is often used as a catch-all phrase for the country's moral ideas, spirit of togetherness, ability to work together towards a common goal, or to refer to examples of collective humanity. Ubuntu might be my new favorite word, as I believe this captures the essence of AmeriCorps. AmeriCorps members are idealists, and you work together to achieve a common goal of making the world more equitable and just. And as a Corps, we recognize the power of collective action and realize we are not free unless all are free. Before I introduce our first speaker, I would like to thank Kyle Clower and Tracy Brent of Serve Wisconsin, who organized this great event. Our first speaker via video is Governor Evers. Governor Evers is a strong supporter of AmeriCorps. Before becoming governor of Wisconsin, he was elected governor of Wisconsin, he was the state superintendent of public instruction, where he witnessed firsthand what AmeriCorps members provide every day for the students of Wisconsin. As governor, he has seen AmeriCorps members in action, helping alongside natural disasters, and he served alongside AmeriCorps members recently on the 9/11 National Day of Service. Governor Evers will also lead us in the AmeriCorps Pledge. During the AmeriCorps Pledge, please unmute yourself, as the AmeriCorps swearing-in pledge is a call and response. So Governor Evers will say a line, and then we will all respond in unison and repeat that line. So now I will present Governor Evers.
Hello, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers here, and it's a pleasure to be with you today for the annual AmeriCorps opening ceremony. I'd like to start by sharing how grateful I am for your commitment to serving the people of Wisconsin during your year of service. As AmeriCorps members, you truly embody what we mean in Wisconsin when we say we value helping out our fellow neighbor, and your decision to spend your time and energy serving the people of this great state is honorable, and it's a decision you should be proud of. Your work truly does make a difference in the lives of the people of our state. Especially now, As we continue to face the challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, your efforts are needed now more than ever. Whether you're working in our school systems, protecting our state's natural resources, or helping folks in communities across the state, the impact you will have, like the legacy of AmeriCorps members before you, is unmistakable. In fact, earlier this year, my staff and I had the pleasure of experiencing the significant impact AmeriCorps team members can have when we participated in this year's September 11th Day of Service and Remembrance. The AmeriCorps members who led us during this day of service were well trained and clearly excited about the work they are doing. And you cannot help but be inspired when surrounded by so many hearts and minds who have such a passion for service. I cannot wait to see the impact you folks will have throughout the next year, and rest assured that no matter where you find yourself, the work you are doing is truly making our state a better place for Wisconsin families and communities everywhere. We couldn't do it without you, and for that I am truly grateful. Now it is an honor to lead you all in saying the AmeriCorps Pledge, so please repeat after me. I will get things done for America to make our people safer, smarter, and healthier.
I will get things done for America
to make our people safer, smarter, and healthier.
I will bring Americans together to strengthen our communities.
Together to
strengthen our communities.
Faced with apathy, I will take action.
Faced with apathy, I will take action.
Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground.
Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground.
Faced with adversity, I will persevere.
Faced with adversity, I will persevere.
I will carry this commitment with me this year and beyond.
Carry this commitment with me this year and beyond.
I am an AmeriCorps member, and I will get things done.
I am an AmeriCorps member, and I will get things done.
Thank you, everyone, and I wish you all a successful year of learning and growth as you serve Wisconsinites all across the state, hopefully inspiring others along the way. Thank you, and good luck.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle Clower, and I am the Communications and Government Relations Officer for Serve Wisconsin. And we're so happy to have you all join us today. First, I want to thank Governor Evers for helping deliver the pledge to all you and for helping welcome you. And we have up next is we're going to have a group activity. We're going to send you into breakout rooms in just a second. I'm going to put some instructions for you in the chat. And so let me share for you what we're doing. And we're going to have everybody's going to be introducing yourselves in the group, what program you're serving with and activities you're doing. And then we have a couple of group activities. We're going to love for you all to please take a screenshot of your group that's in there and create some digital whiteboards on Zoom with why you're serving and what you hope to accomplish this year. And what I'm going to do is put into the chat right now. There's the link to the instructions. So you're going to go through and introduce yourself and your programs and then do the activity. And we're going to come back around a little before 10:30. So from about 15 minutes to do this activity. So I'm going to send everybody into breakout rooms now.
Hello, welcome back. I think everyone has rejoined us, and now is the moment I've been waiting for. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Monique Liston. Dr. Monique Liston is an unapologetic Black woman that also identifies as a warrior scholar, joyful militant, evaluator, sister, and friend. She is the founder of Ubuntu Research and Evaluation, a professional learning community led by Black women, femmes, and non-binary people. If global white supremacy hadn't wreaked havoc on her existence, she would probably be a food scientist and a homemaker. Her professional interests include race work, Black-centered education, and critical media studies. She is a proud alum of Howard University and currently resides in her hometown of Chicago, Illinois. So welcome, Dr. Monique Liston.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Hello, familiar faces. I'm really excited to be here with you all this morning. I also just have to give a brief shout out as I am a proud alum of Howard University. And at this very moment, students at Howard University are currently protesting the administration. They are in the administration building with specific demands around housing, around representation of the undergraduate, graduate student body and alumni on the Board of Trustees, and a long time tension between the Student Association and the university administration. So I am lifting them up because I am a proud alumni, and also think it's very important that student voices are protected in these spaces and uplifted. So if you have a chance to check out the HBCU Takeover on Instagram or Twitter, you can follow up. And if you have any connections with any folks or want to send anything, there are links there. So I just wanted to lift them up. But time for us to get into conversation today. So let me get started with a little bit of music to get our groove started this morning with an oldie. Okay, just had to start off the morning with some Friday morning grooves, just a little bit, but everything is with intention, okay? It's just not a random song that I picked. I think it is important for us to understand, do we know what today is? Do we know what today is? Today is the 55th anniversary of the founding of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. And so we're thinking about what was going on in the world in October 15th, 1966. And that song, I'll Be There by the Four Tops, was the hit record that week. So while we're thinking about the energy that Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale and comrades had to have, this is what they were listening to on the radio. And I want us to hold that idea that I'll be there as sort of a background mantra to what does it mean for us to be the social justice leaders we need for the future. To be there, to be a hand to hold, to be someone to call on. What does that mean for us? Knowing that that was the music, that was the environment, that was the background of the creation of a very powerful, influential social justice program in American history. Now, we also have to acknowledge, because I think we have to understand all history is relative in this moment. And October 15th, 1966, the very same day, Eric Benet was born. Now, for those of you who don't know who Eric Benet is an R&B singer. This might be his most popular song. Now, for those of us who don't know, Eric Benet was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And so when we think about the connections of history and this moment, we have to think about them in all of the vibrations that they cause throughout history. So we've got the Four Tops, we got the Black Panthers, we got Eric Benet, and we're thinking about this moment in history. At this time, when Eric Benet was being born, our president at the time, that's probably a little too generous. The United States president at the time was Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson, if you're going to buy into the way our textbooks couch American history, he was like our next great civil rights president after Abraham Lincoln. He was thinking about the Great Society and the New Deal, similar to what FDR had passed right before the Great Depression, thinking about how to protect more people under the law. And if you research Lyndon B. Johnson, LBJ had all of these amazing quotes and ways he wanted to really uplift and carry on Kennedy's dream of having a better society, right? So he comes into office after Kennedy was assassinated. Well, come to find out, as is a lot of leaders, he really wanted racial politics, integration, social justice to happen on his schedule, on his timeline when he felt like it was necessary. So although he was helping pass the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and all of these things, he wanted a very pacifist, peaceable, don't shake up the status quo too much, not really engaging young people way of racial integration. And this quote here sort of models a person who can uplift those sort of policies, but where their ideas might lie. He said, these Negroes, they're getting pretty uppity these days. And that's a problem for us since they got something now that they've never had before, the political pull to back up their uppityness. Now we got to do something about this. We've got to give them a little something, just enough to quiet them down, not enough to make a difference. For if we don't move at all, then their allies will line up against us and there'll be no way of stopping them. We'll lose the filibuster and there'll be no way of putting a brake on all sorts of wild legislation. It'll be Reconstruction all over again. And if you're unfamiliar with Reconstruction, Reconstruction is the period immediately after the Civil War when you found Black people who were formerly enslaved becoming, you think of Huron Rebels, who was one of the first Black people in the US federal government, seeking office, running towns, just becoming a part of American civil society. And as you could tell, folks, especially white folks in control, did not like that. And if you ever heard the term uppity Negro, it's this right here. This is where it's come from. So to think at the time in which the Four Tops are talking about I'll be there, Eric Benet is being born, the Black Panther Party is being formed. You also have the President of the United States literally saying, let's throw a bone to Black folks, but not too much because we really don't want them to do too much or get too much control. And so in Oakland, California, you have these two lovely gentlemen here, Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton, put together the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. At the time, they were thinking about what does it mean for the Black folks in their local community. They were on Berkeley's campus, being educated with Marxist ideology, thinking about communism, thinking about social welfare, and really seeing a huge discrepancy between the needs of their community and the policies attempting to address what their community needed. And so 2 weeks after that, when they founded the party on October 15th, 2 weeks after that, they asked Stokely Carmichael, who also is a Howard University alum, to become the president of the Panther Party. And he goes to Berkeley and does a speech. And this speech is infamous because it is known as the Black Power speech and is how Black Power became a part of the lexicon in the civil rights movement. Stokely says, we are now engaged in a psychological struggle in this country. And that is whether or not Black people will have the right to use the words they want to use without white people giving their sanction to it. And that we maintain, whether they like it or not, we gonna use the word Black Power and let them address themselves to that. But that we're not gonna wait for white people to sanction Black Power. We are tired of waiting. Every time Black people move in this country, they're forced to defend their position before they move. It's time that the people who are supposed to be defending their position do that. That's white people. They ought to start defending themselves as to why they have opposed and exploited us. So here we are, right? Creating our political time of day, understanding this date, October 15th. 55 years ago, what was happening and shaping what is going to become and understand social justice and the movements that we're involved in and the work that you all are involved in through Serve Wisconsin. I have to uplift here one of my favorite historians, the great philosopher, educator, John Henrik Clarke, because he reminds us history is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It is a compass they use to find themselves on the map of human geography. It tells them where they are, but most importantly, what they must be. Oh my goodness, why does it keep going backwards? There we go. He continues. The events which transpired 5,000 years ago, 5 years ago, or 5 minutes ago have determined what will happen 5 minutes from now, 5 years from now, or 5,000 years from now. All history is a current event. And so this little journey that we walked back towards of what was happening 55 years ago to the day is helping us understand what we are supposed to engage in the future. How can we be good stewards of the opportunity that we have to engage in social justice if we don't understand the historical context? And then not to repeat it, not to just to use it to situate ourselves, but use it to understand how we must move forward. What is our future in social justice leadership? Because these things exist, right? So when we're talking about social justice leadership for the future, it's how we come to understand our past. Our future is how we reconcile our past in the current moment, okay? So often we are forced when it comes to issues of social justice and it comes to issues of leadership, we are confronted with our past and we are thought to either leave it there or to create a narrative that suits our needs. And what the challenge is with the social justice lens is how can I infuse the narrative with as much information as possible so that I can create a more just, a more radical, a more equitable, a more liberated future, not just for myself and for other folks. So I come to this conversation unapologetically an Afrofuturist, right? I have the audacious belief that Black people are not only in the future, Black people are in the future and they are well. They are cared for. They are abundant. They are in love. They are smiling and full of joy. And that's not to say that we aren't now, but imagine a future that's predicated upon that as opposed to that happening despite the world being terrible. That is how I'm coming into this conversation, and I'm challenging us, and we're thinking about our social justice and leadership in the future, that we have to be aware, have to be conscious of what is making our world in this moment, how has history created that, and what we must do to be different in the future. So I want to introduce to you, in Bobby Seale's own words, the 10-point program of the Black Panther Party, because that is going to be the framing of us going into this conversation of what we must do, what we must be, how we must move in our social justice leadership frameworks. So in this clip, Bobby Seale is at a Free Huey rally. And if you see my shirt, I have a Free Huey shirt on. He's at a Free Huey rally. You'll see Stokely Carmichael in this video too. And he is saying, like, here is the party platform for the Black Panther Party. And let's be very clear, Huey's in jail because we have the audacity to even put this forward, okay? And I want us to listen to this because all history is a current event, right? I want us to listen to this and I want to know what you hear and what connections you can make in the current moment, okay? All history is a current event.
I got to explain to you also.
So I want to take a moment and pause right here because I want to give folks a chance, and I feel free to go ahead and unmute and speak. But I want to hear from you. What did you hear listening to that? What did you hear, or what came up from you? You can either unmute or you can write in the chat.
I heard him basically stating how they wanted to make it as simple as possible for Black people to understand what the agenda of the Black Panthers was. And there was also like a saying, basically like, if you don't want a Black person to know something, put it in a book because Black people don't know how to read. So that was something that stood out to me because as I work with students, I see like that is something that, you know, so I work with mostly like Black students. So that's something that they don't want to do. They, you know, every time somebody mentions reading, they're like, oh, I don't like reading. But it's like, to read is to be knowledgeable and to be aware of, you know, things that are going on just around you on the day.
To explain to you also.
That was just one thing that was like real big to me because I used to be that way too at that age. Like, now I read more than I ever used to read. And like, I'm learning so many things that I would have never thought, so.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I see Van, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I would also really like to get the name of this speech so I can watch it later. But yeah, I think this is just further proof that the past is not the past. Everything that was going on back then is the same shit that's going on right now. Everything that he was saying is the exact things that are going on right now. The exact, like, there's no differential. It's the exact same issues that we are dealing with right now in the United States of America, 2021, soon to be 2022. Man, I don't know. The speech, it does give me resolve in a way, but the fact that we're still saying the same things almost 50 plus years later, it makes me think that a more direct action plan needs to be taken.
Heard and felt, Van. We have 3 more folks and then we'll keep going. So DaCosta, then Vicky, then Tejan. I think I'm saying names right. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's okay. It's DaCosta.
DaCosta.
But it's okay. One thing that really stood out to me, piggybacking off of what Van just said, how what he was saying is correlates so much to what's going on in this present time. And he said also about being more direct. And when he talked about, how he told every Black man should have a shotgun in their home, it made me think about, like, what if now, like, if we took the initiative to, protect ourselves instead of waiting for, the government and stuff like that to protect us. Like, when Van said, make it more direct, like, what if we took it upon ourselves and brought the Black Panther movement back or however, in a different variation or something like that, and just took our lives back, it just made me just think about how, like, the Black Panther movement was so, adamant, and it kind of I don't know the word I'm trying to say, but it kind of pushed us into a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It pushed us into a very much, we got confident in ourselves a little bit. And I feel like we lost that confidence. And I feel like hearing him say that just makes me think about, what if we got that confidence back and took our stand more?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Vicky?
In a way, I'm going to kind of echo DaCosta and Van. It's honestly a little disheartening to hear that 55 years ago to the day, we are hearing the same things that we're crying about now, the same things that are going unheard at the moment. We're being obviously unheard 55 years ago. And that hurts, and it should hurt. And we should work on taking away that hurt. Like, we shouldn't have to ask for police to stop killing us for 55 damn years. That's too much.
Ooh, thank you, Vicky. Thank you. Tejan, I said that right.
Yeah, you did. I'm gonna put my hand down really quickly. Also, thank you for saying my name correctly. I really resonated with what Bobby said was saying, especially just when they were highlighting policing the police. I think that's such a powerful tactic, because even now, you still do it. When you like put a phone out and you record a police officer, it totally like levels the playing field, and it kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't equal out the situation, but it makes them, question it. And I think really putting that pressure on the police is like a really powerful thing. And then I also look back at, like, the Black Panther Party was not a gang by any means, and that's definitely like American propaganda. But then I do look at like other gangs or other organizations that did turn into gangs, like Bloods and Crips, and like what they were originally like meant to, like what they were protecting the community, things of that nature. And so I definitely understand how like the war on drugs and like bringing guns into our like communities could definitely like promote more violence. But I definitely think having an infrastructure outside the government was such a powerful tool, and that's why the Black Panthers were taken down. And to regain that infrastructure, especially in a time like this, would be pivotal for the Black community and for any community that is trying to better themselves. Because and so I think we should get on that.
Thank you, Tajon. I want to do a ring shout, a dance, because yes, to everything that has been said. And I think it's important, I firmly believe the ancestors of the universe conspire in our favor. For us to have this conversation on 55 years to the day is setting a type of seed for us in this conversation. Because it's not, let's just talk about the Black Panther Party because they did a lot in the civil rights movement. The Black Panther Party for self-defense, and I think it's important that we make sure that we use the full name of the organization, was really upholding Black dignity. What does it mean to have the audacity to dignify Black folks in a country, albeit a world, that has created a political and economic system using Black bodies and Black identity as the unit of currency? And that is why we situate this understanding around racism and racial capitalism around anti-Blackness, because that is the unit of currency for racism, for all of the intersecting isms that go along with it. And so talking about the Black Panther Party for self-defense is an opportunity to put these social justice leadership principles into practice and to understand the limitations of them when we don't understand that Blackness is the unit of analysis. When we eliminate Blackness as the unit of analysis, we end up accidentally, I don't know if we want to say it's an accident, but we end up reinscribing the system as it is, right? And so my challenge to you over the next section of this conversation is to really understand this seed that's being planted and to participate in some, what I'm calling Sankofa journaling. Some of you might have heard of the term Sankofa. It's probably one of the most popularized terms to come from the Akan people from the Ghana region of West Africa. But Sankofa simply translates into, it is not taboo to fetch what is at risk of being left behind. So having the audacity to affirm the history of resistance to the anti-Black, capitalist, militaristic, queer-phobic, homophobic, heteropatriarchy by the folks who have taken the time to diligently organize and do it makes sense for us to do. Okay. And so I want you, as we take this journey through the Black Panther 10-point program and its relevance to this moment, to journal along. What is coming up for you? What are you feeling in your body? What are you thinking about? What do you feel burning inside of you as we begin to have this conversation? So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk through each point of the 10-point program and make some alignments into how it relates to our conversation right now. What does it mean to look at our work? So the very first point, we want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our Black community. We'll believe that Black people will not be free until we are able to determine our destiny. And for those of you who have talked or have listened to me talk before, I talked about the importance of self-determination as a form of dignity, to be able to say, I want this to happen in my life. I want to move in the world with this direction. I determine how I live and die each day. Now, what we do know about the Black Panther Party, because we're taking this retrospective lens, is not everything was perfect, right? And so we know that we also need to do this same work with special intentional consideration for youth, women, queer folks, trans folks, non-binary folks, disabled folks, and poor folks. And if those aren't identities that we are centering, that we are tangibly, actively bringing in from the margins and putting at the center of what it means to be fighting against the anti-Black world, to do this social justice work, we're not doing it right. And I have a picture of my dear sis, Dominique Morgan, the executive director of Black and Pink. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat of an interview that she gave in talking about the work that Black and Pink has done to grow in these exact same ways. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Black and Pink, it started as an organization that created pen pals between folks who identified as LGBTQ and were incarcerated. It has grown into a sustainable national organization that is thinking about housing, incarceration, abolition. What does it mean to actually create opportunities? She's in the middle of building Opportunity Campus in Omaha, Nebraska. But we just want to go back to that first part. We want freedom. We want the power to determine the destiny of our Black community with special intentional consideration for youth, women, queer folks, trans folks, non-binary folks, disabled folks, and poor folks. The Black Panther Party wasn't ready to put that in their platform, but now, 55 years later, because we have learned and we have listened, we know that is important for our point number one. Point number two. We want full employment for our people. We believe that the federal government is responsible and obligated to give every man employment or guaranteed income. We believe that if the white American businessman will not get full employment, then the means of production should be taken from the businessman and placed in the community so that people of the community can organize and employ all of its people and give a high standard of living. Now, there's a lot being said here, right? Especially in this moment where we're thinking about what is our relationship to work? Right. And I know many of you have seen and heard this idea, my dream job is not working, no work, I don't dream about labor. But this is really about, remember, Blackness is the unit of analysis, the unit of currency for our capitalist state. And so if we are actually going to do what they're asking for here, which is really making sure that the community has all of the resources it needs in order to flourish with no contingencies because of race, gender, sexuality, classism, or any of those other identities that have prevented people from having access to what they need to flourish. So the Black Panther Party was on the right track by saying we need everybody to have employment so that they could do the work in order to be who they wanted to be. And we can now say in this moment that we're not saying that capitalism is the way that we want to grow and develop as a people or as a community, but the communities need everything that they need to flourish. All of those resources must be present. And it should not be contingent upon access to a job. And so being able to put that into very clear language means that our point number two in our new 10-point program is to consciously end capitalism and to think about our role within it on the everyday level, but also think about what does it mean on a systemic level to actually be about ending it. And as all my public allies folks know, that I am constantly talking about the role the nonprofit industrial complex has in maintaining and promoting this system of racial capitalism. But we have to be conscious of like, what can we be doing to work against it in real time? Okay, so just opening up for our point number two. Point number three, we want to end to the robbery by the capitalists of our Black community. We believe that the racist government has robbed us, and now we are demanding the overdue debt of 40 acres and 2 mules. 40 acres and 2 mules were promised 100 years ago as restitution for slave labor and mass murder of Black people. We will accept the payment in currency, which will be distributed to our many communities. The Germans are now aiding the Jews in Israel for the genocide of the Jewish people. The Germans murdered 6 million Jews. The American racist has taken part in the slaughter of over 50 million Black people. Therefore, we feel that this is a modest demand that we make. Simply put, pay reparations. Now, I outlined a story here. If you haven't had a chance to read Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Case for Reparations, this story is in here, but I highlight it because in 1783, a Black woman petitioned and got reparations. Sometimes in the defense of the American political system, people say reparations, it's never heard of. People don't do that. It's been done. It is being done. People just don't like to engage in the honesty that has to occur when we do it. Because you have to acknowledge what has been taken from people and their families and their communities, what we know about wealth, right? As you know, you have some folks talking about, you know, if you only stop buying Starbucks, you will somehow save your way out into another class. And it's like not possible. What we know is that we have to readjust the power dynamic that has been created based upon the wealth, which is based upon the enslavement of Black people. And so we're bringing this forward because when we're talking about paying reparations, there's legislation and it's talking to the UN, it's all of that big stuff, but there's also the everyday thing of us understanding no matter where we are in our own privilege space, right? We have someone who we could be supporting in a micro reparation space, right? So whether that's cis folks being able to be more open and giving of their material goods to trans folks, is it hetero folks giving more of their space, time, and energy to queer folks? Is it white folks giving more to Black folks? Is it men giving more to women, to other marginalized genders? Whatever it may be, we need to put in our head the idea that this system has been based upon all of these identities being marginalized. Therefore, if we hold any of the powerful identities, we are in debt to those who have been marginalized. And that's not to say that we have to give up everything that we own, right? Because I still am a poor Black person, but what I can do is understand the privileges I do have and making sure that I leverage, whether it's time, space, opportunity, or my material resources, into people who don't hold the identities that I have, right? And so making space for that is a part of our 10-point program. That's number 3. Number 4, we want decent housing fit for the shelter of human beings. We believe if the white landlords will not give decent housing to our Black community, then the housing land should be made in a cooperative so that our community with government aid can build and make decent housing for its people. Very simply put, in housing insecurity. I'm sharing this from late 2020 when in Lexington, Kentucky, the mayor said, yay, we're going to have implicit bias training for city employees. And in doing that, they said, well, we'll just take some money from the Emergency Rental Assistance Fund. And somehow that's making it better. And the point being made here through this tweet, reducing rental assistance to pay for implicit bias training is what happens when people with power misunderstand racism so profoundly that they neglect its institutional basis in favor of unproven individualistic solutions. All the credit for fighting racism, none of the sacrifice. Hello, everybody needs a place to live. It's almost like so ridiculous that I can't even believe that I am saying this right now. Everybody needs a place to live. They don't need to work for it. They don't need to prove it. They don't need to demonstrate they are drug free. They don't need to demonstrate that they've not been drinking. They don't need to demonstrate that they can hold a job. We are human beings and we deserve housing. And so this is bringing up point number 4, is that we have to be very, very intentional about the intersectionality of the issues that we are raising, right? We can't simply say that the individualist actions of like, I read How Not to Be a Racist, or I went to a workshop on unlearning racism is somehow the key to solving all of this. All of these systems are wrapped up into another. And as if you remember from point number 3, everyone has a responsibility to think about how they can help in the material resource realm, those who do not share the same identities with them. So when it comes to this idea of merely protecting rental assistance, which is just, I don't even want to call that really social justice. That's really just like maintaining a basic necessity. We need to get in the space of like, how do we ensure that everyone has housing? And this should not be something that is like secondary. It's really, really important. Number 5, we want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in the present day society. We believe in an educational system that will give our people a knowledge of self. If a man does not have knowledge of himself and his position in society, then the world, then he has little chance to relate to anything else. Very simply, teach the children the truth. Right in this moment, right, we are in a political moment when people are talking about critical race theory, but don't have no idea what it is, right? And I think there has been a tweet that has been going around social media recently that's like, the problem with slavery is it's being taught as Black history when it's really the history of white folks in this country. And it's unfortunate that so many, even some of the things, let's just be honest, some of the things that I'm sharing with you all today are things someone should have said to you in school, but they did not. That is the problem. And let's be very honest that some of the things being said in this very room are being heard for the first time, not by young people. Teaching the children the truth has to be on our platform when we're talking about the self-defense of the people who have been most marginalized by the way this anti-Black world has been moving. Number 6, we want all Black men to be exempt from military service. We believe that Black people should not be forced to fight in the military service to defend against a racist government that does not protect us. We will not fight and kill other people of color in the world who, like Black people, are being victimized by the white racist government of America. We will protect ourselves from the force and violence of the racist police and the racist military by whatever means necessary. For those of you who don't know, some of you don't care, my great uncle was Sonny Liston, who was a heavyweight champion of the world. He was a heavyweight champion of the world right before Muhammad Ali became heavyweight champion of the world. And the famous picture of Muhammad Ali when he became the champion on the ground lane is my great uncle Sonny Liston. And for all that's worth, right, there's no beef between me and Ali. I love Louisville, Kentucky, Ali's hometown, but I bring him up because one of the most important things that Muhammad Ali did was to reject the draft. He was drafted and he went in and said, I'm not going to go. He was arrested. He was able to go out on bail, and he made a statement that said, why should I go over and fight for a country that has refused to fight on me? If I have beef or issue with anybody, it's with the people right here in this country. And so we have to think about the ways in which we've embodied, internalized, and put into our political memory narratives of what the rest of the world outside the United States is and what our relationship is to it. We have to consciously stop global militarized imperialism, which goes all the way down to what happens in our communities when it comes to police. We want an immediate end to police brutality and the murder of Black people. We believe we can end police brutality in our Black community by organizing Black self-defense groups that are dedicated to defending our Black community from racist police oppression and brutality. The Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States gives the right to bear arms. And therefore, we believe that all Black people should arm themselves for self-defense. Some of you all talked about that in their reflections. I want to connect it with number 8. We want freedom for all Black men held in federal, state, county, city prisons, and jails. We believe that all Black people should be released from the many jails and prisons because they have not received a fair and impartial trial. So what that simply gives us is the fact that we need to be thinking about abolishing police in prisons. I want to just play this quick clip from the great Angela Davis.
The call to defund the police is, I think, an abolitionist demand, but it reflects only one aspect of the process represented by the demand. Defunding the police is not simply about withdrawing funding for law enforcement and doing nothing else. And it appears as if this is the rather superficial understanding that has caused Biden to move in the direction he's moving in. It's about shifting public funds to new services and new institutions, mental health counselors who can respond to people who are in crisis without arms. It's about shifting funding to education, to housing, to recreation. All of these things help to create security and safety. It's about learning that safety, safeguarded by violence, is not really safety. And I would say that abolition is not primarily a negative strategy. It's not primarily about dismantling, getting rid of, but it's about re-envisioning. It's about building anew. And I would argue that abolition is a feminist strategy, and one sees in these abolitionist demands that are emerging the pivotal influence of feminist theories and practices.
So I uplift that. I mean, her words are really poignant, but I think it's really important for us to understand, and if you are a student of history and the way Black folks have contextualized history, with every action of destruction must be building up, right? And I feel like when we're talking about points 8 and 9 in our new platform, which is abolishing the police and prisons, we're thinking about what does it mean for us to be in community with each other? What does it mean for us to be accountable to one another? What does it mean for us to protect one another? And to acknowledge that a protection or safety that carries the threat of violence isn't safety at all. Right. And we have to carry that through of like, if we're thinking about it in the future, we have to carry through on our leadership, not just being built upon that practice. And lastly, well, we have two more here. We want all Black people when brought to trial to be tried in court by a jury of their peer group or people from Black communities as defined by the Constitution of the United States. We believe that a court should follow the United States Constitution so that Black people receive fair trials. The 14th Amendment of the US Constitution gives a man a right to be tried by his peer group. A peer is a person from a similar economic, social, religious, geographical, environmental, historical, and racial background. To do this, the court would be forced to select a jury from the Black community from which the Black defendant came. We have been and we are being tried by all white juries that have no understanding of the average reasoning man of the Black community. I can tell you something, and maybe you get a gist of where the next one's about to go. But as someone who has worked in many spaces that have been all white and well-meaning, the number of times I have opened my mouth to say something that was blatantly clear to me, and the response has been, I've never thought about that before. That experience alone, which I'm sure many of you can identify with, explains the problem outlined by number 9. That explains the problem. If you do not have, what Du Bois called the double consciousness, what the marginalization of being trans or non-binary causes, of what poverty can do, your thought process is not the same. And so if you're trying to say that I can be accountable to how you look at the world based on how I operate in the world, it can't be on the same level because you can't see what I see. You don't move the way I do. And so we promote here, we're thinking about restorative and transformative practices. And I'm going to play this short clip from Adrienne Marie Brown to talk a little bit about what that is. But simply put, the restoration part is thinking about how do we get back to where we were after harm is created. The transformative part is how do we call the system into question so that harm can never happen again. And I just want to play this short clip so you can hear these words.
So when I'm trying to explain transformative justice to people, I usually back away from, I don't go straight at, okay, this is transformative justice. I usually actually go back to punitive justice. I start out with like what we're used to and what we've been socialized into is punitive justice. And then I ask people, if I'm in a room full of people, even in a room full of friends, I'll be like, how many of you grew up in an experience where you were punished when harm happened? And I give examples. You were expelled, you were put in detention, you were suspension, you're put on timeout. But the main move was you're removed from community in some way because you've done harm. And people are like, oh, yeah, everyone either has that experience or they were part of spaces where they saw that experience. And then I'm like, we grow that up so that then you go into prison or you get the death penalty or you get canceled from your community, right? It's the same process. So we live in this, that's what we're swimming in. And then I talk about restorative justice as a steps in the right direction, right? It's like harm has happened. How do we restore ourselves back to that relationship that existed before the harm happened? So I'm like, someone stole your purse, you get an apology, they do some community service. Hopefully we return to like where we were. But for me, I always say that doesn't go far enough because if the original conditions were unjust, then returning to those original conditions is not actually justice, right? You're just going to have someone who's like, great, now I returned everything to you. I still don't have anything and I'm still hungry and I still need something. I'm like, so we need to go further. So to me, transformative justice, the first aspect of it is that it goes all the way down to the root system of the harm and says, how do we change, heal, transform, pull this up? What do we need to do at the root system so that this harm is no longer possible? Like what we're trying to do is stop this harm from ever being possible again. And then how do we understand that the state is so committed to punitive justice, so the state is not going to be able to engage in transformative justice with us. So we don't go to the state to do this kind of deep work. And then how do we turn towards each other to hold this space? And in that turning to each other, we have to say, I believe you can transform.
Whew. So it's important for us to contextualize here that in promoting restorative and transformative justice practices, there is this large systemic thing where we think about prisons and jails, but it's also the very small everyday interactions that we have with family, friends, peers, coworkers. And what do we do to start to embody and outline what those practices look like and feel like in real time? The last point on the self-defense, and Bobby Seale shared that this was basically a summary. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them, a decent respect of the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. This is them upholding what the Declaration of Independence, what the Bill of Rights, what all of these documents that are considered founding to the United States require, and it should also be applied in their communities to their folks. We will simply say, what the ask is respect, protect, and fulfill a sense of dignity for all Black people. This becomes the summary of what our social justice leadership is about. These prior 9 points are really the tools that help us do that. So we live in this moment thinking about the Black Panther Party overall. What 55 years ago today, Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton and his comrades at Berkeley stood up and said, this is what we require for our communities. What they then inspired to pop up in communities all over the country, including Milwaukee and Chicago, including New York, including Baltimore, including Atlanta. What attracted and got Fred Hampton doing amazing work, what got Erica Huggins doing American work, what got Angela Davis doing American, like all of these things, right, were the Sankofa seeds that allowed the next form of leadership to emerge. So what we are putting in practice today is that a seed has been planted on October 15th, 2021. 55 years ago after that occurred, what do you do? What are you charged with? What are you compelled to start engaging? And so we are leaving in that moment, right, of being audacious about Black people deserve to be in the future, happy, joyous, carefree, and not having to deal with this white supremacist bullshit. That's what we do, right? And as we take a stand, what does that mean for your leadership now? What must you be doing? We went over the 10 points. We introduced those to you. It lifted up, it conjured up. You felt some things inside of you. And I ask you to carry that little bit of fire, that seed, whatever's been planted in you today from this ancestral wisdom that came to us. And let that be the foundation of what your social justice leadership develops into, what it grows to, where it goes in from this moment. With that, I express my greatest gratitude to be in conversation with you all. I am going to turn it over to fellow Ubuntu team member, Ebony Kirkendall, who's going to talk a little bit about the series that is following this.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Liston. I don't even know how I'm supposed to follow such a wonderful speech, but here we go. I'm going to do that. I'm excited to be here. My name is Ebony Kirkendall. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the nonprofit transformational educator and strategist with Ubuntu Research and Evaluation. And so just a recap of who we are, Ubuntu Research and Evaluation is a strategic learning organization powered by unapologetic Black women, femmes, and non-binary folk who work as transdisciplinary strategists committed to resisting anti-Blackness and building the intellectual and political defense for all Black people in solidarity with the global majority through education, facilitation, and evaluation. I'll be your lead facilitator over the next couple of months, but you might also see some of my amazing colleagues, Lynetta, she, her, or Mikey, she, they. And so I just want to go over the leadership journey that's going to happen and kind of what to expect across the sessions. They'll be recorded, so if you miss something, you'll be able to jump in and pick up the content. But just want to give some context to those sessions. So we're gonna start out with mindfulness as our first session next month, but we're not talking about your traditional colonized mindfulness that we often associate simply with just like breathing and closing of the eyes, but rather our purpose in this session will be to recognize and dismantle our own contribution to systemic oppression by way of feeling through and recognizing our own self-oppression. After mindfulness, we're going to journey into dignity. This framework was developed by Dr. Liston through our doctoral studies, and is really what this work will be anchored in and what you heard her speak a lot about today. Dignity being defined as reciprocal self-worthiness. And so we're going to explore that as a fundamental part to reaching liberation. And we're also going to use it as an anchoring point for shared language throughout the remaining sessions that we have. After dignity, we're going to talk about whiteness. And this is really about like too often organizational efforts to promote inclusion are completely devoid of analysis of whiteness, which in turn problematizes the experience of BIPOC folks. So I'm sure you sat in many sessions where there have been mixed cohorts and it's like just harm is happening at all points. And a lot of the times it's because we're not analyzing the whiteness in the room, in the space. And so this session will be about training ourselves to see whiteness on both the system and individual level in order to disrupt it on the system level. After that, you're going to have a personal learning point. There's going to be 3 of those throughout the entire series. The learning points are really designed to be you doing your own work. There's only so much as a facilitator in this space that we're going to accomplish together. And the learning opportunities will be asynchronous interactive checkpoints to really push your learning and your self-reflection further to hopefully turn into actionable items and behavior shifts so that we can actually see the system change. We'll go into intersectionality, a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, to give meaning to the ways in which people multiple identities play into their experiences and oppressions. But we're going to take it from just simply this, what I think now is a buzzword, and really think about it as a tool that will allow us as individuals to see beyond our lived experiences into the power of systems to share and oftentimes harm individuals. Our 5th session together will be about interdependence and accountability. This session is really about recognizing that each of our lives has worth and that worth is tied to one another. And it is really going to be about disrupting the rampant culture of individualism that the United States has and beginning to see how you need to be accountable to the collective because our self-worth is tied to one another. And so what does that look like and how do we actually be accountable and hold people accountable around that? You'll have another learning point after interdependence and accountability. And we're gonna round out with transformative justice. So this is what Dr. Liston was just talking about. We'll be looking at responding to violence and harm without creating more violence and harm, really pushing past restorative justice, which is process and emotion centered. Not that those things are not important to look at, but thinking about how do we prevent such harmful and violent actions from happening in the future. And that'll be the last session we have with a final learning point together. So I'm really excited to be doing this work and facilitating for you all moving forward over the next couple of months.
Okay, hi everybody. This is Kyle again with Serve Wisconsin. And so what I'm gonna do now is first off, a big thank you to Dr. Liston. Thank you so very much for speaking. Thanks for delivering our keynote today. We really appreciate it. And then thank you, Ebony, for guiding us through what this is gonna look like. We really are looking forward to doing this series over the next year. And so it'll be coming from the next session is slated to happen on November 12th, and it'll be going through April. And so what I wanna do is really quickly just give you a little more information about how you'll access the training. So what'll happen is I'm gonna put into the chat right now the website where the training information is. It's on our website, it's under AmeriCorps. And then the recordings will all be on our website. And then some programs are going to be registering all their members, and others are going to ask their members to individually register. And you can use the link they put in the chat, and that link is also available on the website for the training series. For each individual session, we'll send out information about when they're coming up, when they're going to do, we'll have the dates. They're up there. You'll see those. After each session, the recording will be there. So it'll be easy to go to our website in order to get this. Like I said, you'll be able to register there, and we'll send out information to everybody once they RSVP on the form. And what I'm going to do now is turn this over to Rahama, who's going to talk about another service opportunity, another training opportunity.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rahama, and my pronouns are they, them. I'm the Disaster Services Coordinator for Serve Wisconsin. We have an opportunity for you all to participate in if you would like to. Serve Wisconsin administers the Wisconsin AmeriCorps Disaster Cadre. And a part of that is our AmeriCorps Disaster Response Team, which is called an ADART. This program is currently available to any of the serving members and program staff. It's designed to provide training and participate in statewide exercises and other disaster response organizations, and the ability to deploy to either a federal or state declared disaster. So throughout the year, participants will have access to a variety of training options. We'll be participating in monthly cohort meetings. And if it would happen to where we would deploy, we would be deploying within a 24 to 48 hour notice. More information will be coming on this. We'll have an introductory meeting within the next couple weeks, so watch out for the date. For the next portion of our program, we have a video from some AmeriCorps alumni that's highlighting what they got from their year of service and some advice that they have for you for your service year. I'd like to thank Anna Daniker, who is an AmeriCorps alumni from Boys and Girls Club of Greater Milwaukee, for putting this together. Thank you, Anna.
One of my favorite memories was working at the farm to family food distributions, helping hundreds of people get good, nutritious food.
My favorite part of my service is just all the people that I met. I'm still in contact with a lot of them. I went back this past weekend and hung out with several of my friends that I met during that time. Keep those connections alive. We did crazy things like dyeing our hair together. We got to meet baby cheetahs together. So definitely the people are the best part.
My favorite part of my service as an AmeriCorps Farm to School member was conducting a monthly taste test program called Tasty Tuesday for elementary students in the Menominee School District. We would go in once a month and serve them a new fruit or vegetable dressed up as fruits and vegetables in different costumes. I think my favorite costume was the carrot with the big green top. And it was always just so much fun to interact with the students and see them get excited about new fruits and vegetables.
I really enjoyed just every day being able to come in, connect with community members, and give them the support they needed to take that next step. So it's just a wonderful experience in that way.
When I would come back to a group of students that I had taught in either a previous week or a month, coming back to their classroom and hearing their excitement about a lesson that I had previously taught, and hearing that they were excited and engaged in trying to incorporate things that they had learned in the classroom into their home lives and with their guardians was really exciting, and just showing the impact that I was having on these students.
For me, my favorite moments were every week having our team meetings and just coming together, because the team meetings were either funny, they were either like heartfelt, or they were just moments where we all came together. And when I moved to Madison, I didn't have anyone that I knew or could really talk to. So it was important to have that group of people who were like my friends in my new family to actually talk to and just share about how service is going for me.
Personally, I felt so blessed to be at my host site, which was the local health department. That space allowed me to move forward towards my professional goals now.
The best advice I can give is just be open-minded and just accept that you don't know everything and that this is a learning experience. You're gonna encounter a lot of situations and a lot of challenges, but embrace them because they're gonna make you into an incredible person who is gonna do amazing things in the work and also after.
If you're feeling like you are not making a difference at first, and this is how I felt my first year, just think that you are. You are making a difference in anyone's life that you're serving or a community. And also, if you're struggling with the work that you're doing, just know that you have a good team behind you that you can seek help from.
Everyone should be themselves. You'll soon figure out these cohorts are built on trust, and trust needs to be built on vulnerability and honesty. And then being present and listening, I think that's a vital element of being a good fellow and friend. You're not able to grow if you aren't able to hear other stories. This allows us to build community and understand each other further.
Advice I would give new AmeriCorps members is to remember that this is your moment and your time to find yourself. So continue to have fun, but also be thinking about where you want to see your life going, because you have so many resources and so many people who are looking out for you right now.
Take full advantage of the opportunities. Go into it hoping to have fun. I think you can't forget that this should be fun, and open to the relationships that you're going to build, and the lifelong friendships that you can make, and also the impact that you can make. So, don't forget to have fun and be open to all the opportunities that are going to be presented to you during your service.
I would say to keep an open mind and also an open heart. This is a tremendous year of learning if you just really lean into it and trust the process.
Good luck with service. Yay!
Even the little things we do make a difference. Thank you so much for your service, and I hope you have a great year.
Congratulations, and have so much fun this year. Good luck.
So have another great AmeriCorps service year and get things done.
To all you AmeriCorps members, have a great service year, good luck, and enjoy your time.
Good luck. Have a great rest of your service year.
Well, good luck, everyone. Have a great service term. Be willing to try all of the things, and best of luck.
So good luck, everybody, and have a wonderful year.
So good luck to all of the AmeriCorps members serving this year. Remember that you are exactly where you should be this year, so make the best of it and have a terrific time.
Good luck, everyone, with the 2021-2022 service year. Have fun.
Good luck to everyone serving in Wisconsin. You're going to be doing incredible things, and I wish you the best.
This is your time. Have fun. See ya.
Good luck and have fun.
All right, I get the honor of providing the closing remarks for today's ceremony. I served as a VISTA and as a second year as a VISTA leader in AmeriCorps, which led to my journey here at Serve Wisconsin in public service. As I reflect on my 2 years of AmeriCorps service, I realized how it changed the direction of my life. Service made me realize the impact I could have in the lives that surround me, and it is all I needed to do was to take that initiative. I'm excited to welcome you all to the AmeriCorps community, and I can't wait to see what your impact will be this year on the state of Wisconsin. I'm going to leave you all with a quote from Leon Brown. Never underestimate the valuable and important difference you make in every life you touch, for the impact you make today has a powerful rippling effect on every tomorrow. Thank you so much for your service.